Hello, Yakri here with another Warframe video. Today I want to talk about the Nekros rework, and I tried doing this before and I got a little long-winded, so I'm gonna try and keep this like real fast, right? Because no one has time to watch a 40-minute video on Warframe, or if you do, that's cool too, I guess. But I'm gonna try and not make that. So let's just go over this really quick. The main things that were changed, actually the only things that were changed about Nekros are Desecrate and Shadows of the Dead. So let's talk about Desecrate. Desecrate was, in no uncertain terms, enormously nerfed. The chance to drop loot was reduced. Looks like, just 6% reduction, right? It used to be 60% chance, now it's 54. You might think, keep in mind how Nekros's Desecrate worked before was that when you activated it, there was a 60% chance that it would consume a corpse in range, right? Not just one corpse, but for every corpse in range, there was a 60% chance that any particular corpse would be consumed, and it would produce health orbs if that happened. And then there was a 90% chance when that happened for it to drop a loot. Now there's a 54% chance any corpse is consumed, and when it is consumed, there's a 54% chance that it will drop health orbs or drop loot. I'm actually not sure if it's an or. Like, their patch notes makes it sound like it's health orbs or loot, but it could be 54% chance of health orbs and loot. It's still at least like a 40% reduction in the amount of loot you actually drop from Desecrate. If it's health orbs or loot, it's closer to like an 80% reduction. Not exactly, because the math isn't that simple quite, but roughly. Which is pretty bad, right? That is a lot less loot that you were getting. Before, you'd probably get about you had like an 84% chance per enemy of getting loot, essentially. Over multiple casts before they despawn, right? And so generally you'd get that, you'd actually get pretty close to that full 90% chance of additional loot. And now it's going to be 54% or less a chance of additional loot. It's not exactly clear how it works. We'll have to wait for some more testing. So that is a pretty severe nerf, right? A lot of people are complaining about this. I don't actually have that much of a problem with it. I agree, it's a severe nerf. It makes Nekros a lot less desirable in many missions, and it makes him less powerful because he gets less useful stuff, right, out of missions for you. Even stuff during the missions, like health orbs, right? He even gets less health orbs now. But I kind of think it's okay. I don't have a huge problem with it being weaker, really, because it has been made into a toggle. How it works now is that you activate it, and when an enemy corpse comes into range, after 2 seconds it will start disintegrating corpses, and it will disintegrate them at about a rate of 1 per second. This is really nice because mashing 3 constantly all mission is boring as fuck. And now at least you can just properly leave your keyboard, you can go make yourself a sandwich. I think it's a huge improvement. I'm only being kind of sarcastic there. You can run around the mission, you can shoot things, you can do stuff, or you can AFK, depending on the strat you're doing. If you're doing Hydroid, farming with Hydroid, you're probably going to be AFK, because you're just gonna let him do all the work. You could also do some stuff where you bring them along with like chromas, and you have like 3 chromas in a Necro, so you have lots and lots of credits. And you could do it on survival missions to make them just generally more enjoyable. So I think it's fine. A lot of people are going to complain because, by reducing this way we have of farming resources, they're kind of increasing the overall amount of resource grind in the game, which is true. But it's an improvement to how the ability plays, even if it's a reduction in the ability's power, so I'm okay with it. And I prefer it now after having tested it out personally. I don't think the nerf was really necessary. I think a lot of people are saying that, and I think that's correct. The nerf was not necessary. However, I'm sure that DE wanted to nerf it because they wanted to reduce this kind of excessively used way of getting a ton of extra resources. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some nerfs to Hydroid's ability to generate resources in a Hydroid rework. Although I hope they actually make him more powerful, not less powerful like they did to Nekros. Shadows of the Dead. Now, this is one where there's some contention. A lot of people are like, well, you're wrong, Yakri. This is actually better. You know what? You're wrong. Shadows of the Dead is much weaker than it used to be, and here's why. Shadows of the Dead has a 2.5 times damage multiplier on your shadows, but before you could get like 17 shadows available. Now you can only get 7, and nothing has changed about the damage multiplier. They may say, well, now it selects stronger units, but guess what? We could select stronger units before. I could very easily create an army of Shadows of the Dead that was only bombards, or only heavy gunners, or only ancient healers, and I've done that before. It's a lot of fun. And we can still do that now, but this ability where it selects the best enemies out of what you've killed, it's... One, I'm skeptical that it actually selects the best enemies. A lot of people have had problems with trying to get shield drones out and stuff because of this new addition. And for another, it doesn't change anything, actually. At best, it means that we can run around with Tonkors, laughing it up more easily instead of actually selecting enemies to spawn, right? Maybe, if it works effectively, right? It's not a power boost. It's at best, a quality of life change, one that is a hassle for some people. Like a 50-50 quality of life change, I'm not a huge fan of that. And it absolutely does not in any way, shape, or form make up for the reduction in minions. The health multiplier and shield multiplier also do not make up for the reduction in minions. Why? Because your minions were before nigh on immortal, right? These guys, they already had a health multiplier. That was already the case, right? The health multiplier was just set at 1, right? I don't think it was bonus health, any bonus health at all. Maybe I was reading it wrong, but in any case, with some power strength, you easily would get double health. And enemies in this game, compared to their own HP pools, deal very little damage. It's just that Warframes, when we have like 1,000 hit points or so, maybe some crazy people with like 13,000, and enemies will end up having like 100,000, 200,000 hit points. So if you have an enemy with 200,000 hit points that deals like 5,000 damage a shot, right, and you clone it to a version of that enemy with 400,000 hit points and deals 10,000 damage a shot, how easy is it going to be for it to kill an enemy with 200,000 hit points? Well, 10,000 damage a shot, that's going to take it and all the while I break 200 shots to kill that enemy. That's a long time, and for the other enemy to kill it, that's 400 shots. And if we're talking like bombards or something, it's a long time before anyone wins that fight. That's how it was with Nekros' ult before. Your minions do not die easily, and enemies don't die easily either. With enough power strength, since they do have a bit of a bonus to damage, you can get to the point with certain enemies at least where they'll die quickly. If you res enemies like butchers that have like a high damage attack that will actually run at enemies and attack them, they'll chop their way through other like their own counterparts fairly quickly, and their own counterparts will be more or less unable to kill them. And this doesn't really change that. In that case, they will chop through other versions of themselves fairly quickly, but you only have 7 guys instead of 17, so they won't be chopping through as many enemies as quickly because it's roughly a 60% reduction in the power of the ability. It's 60% less dudes to run around killing stuff, which means 60% less DPS, sort of. If they actually, let's assume, they don't actually all attack things at the same time, but even then, having more dudes means they're more spread out and more odds they'll aggro stuff and attack things. So, what's the TLDR of this? It's that DE has reduced the effectiveness of the ability by 62%, and they haven't given us anything to actually compensate. There's this health and shield multiplier, but that does nothing. At best, it makes up for the health decay per second, which, incidentally, brings us on to another topic, which is DE lying to us. They said in the dev stream that they were going to be changing Nekros' ult to not have a duration, so that your pets would always be up. And maybe this was just a miscommunication. Maybe I'm sure they probably always intended it to work this way. And what they meant was, when they said you'll just heal your pets to keep them from dying, what they meant was that you're going to heal your pets to refresh the duration that your ult still has, and you'll be able to keep the same pets, the same minions up, but you'll need to refresh their duration. And the thing is that since it's not an actual duration, it's health drain per second, this actually is worse than that, because, once they get down to very low health, other enemies can just, give them a shot in the face and actually kill them quite easily. So they're easier to kill than before, realistically, because you're not going to be refreshing your ult every time they get to 80% health after, 20 seconds or 10 seconds if you don't pump in crazy amounts of power duration like I have. So there's really no improvement there at all. It does mean that corpus units are a lot better than maybe they used to be, because the shield multiplier the shields do not drain. Bug fix incoming. Which means that often a corpus unit with 1% health left is actually at 50% total health, so they won't actually die instantaneously, unlike Grineer units and infested units that will just die if you let them get that low. So the net result is that your minions are less tanky than before, and the ult is still a hassle to use, kind of better than before. You can certainly keep Shield of Shadows up more easily than before, which is great. And you do way less damage with it than before. Not that it did great damage before anyway, but it's now way less. What I think should have happened is that they should have increased the damage of your minions commensurate with the nerf to the damage, right? They should do 400% base damage. That's actually more of a buff than it sounds like, because it's a buff to their base amount, which is then scaled. It means that it's actually a little bit more effective than compensating for the 60% reduction. But I think that's fine, because before, the big problem with Nekros' ult is that your minions don't really do anything. They just kind of stand around and are ineffective, especially as you get into higher levels, because they don't do that much damage. Remember what I was talking about with the bombards, the case where they're not going to kill either one is going to kill each other? That happens a lot with Nekros' ult, because minions or enemies in Warframe deal very low base damage, and you're multiplying that base damage, so you need a big multiplier, like 10 times, to actually get an effective minion out of it. That's why Nyx's mind control just isn't that great. I mean, it's a 1, so but Nekros is an ult. It needs to be good. It needs to be effective. That means that at least at least a 50% bonus to 300, but would have been good. But 400, I think it's reasonable. I think you would have a situation where now, if you buffed it to 400, then it would be effective in high level missions, especially if you brought 4x CP. You'd have your dudes running around actually killing things, and that would make up for the huge 60% reduction in the amount of minions you get. And it would even make up a bit for the really annoying health decay per second. Now, let's get on to that, right? The health decay per second, this is bullshit. They said that his ult would not have a duration. It should actually not have a duration. I think this would be completely balanced if it had no duration, and indeed your minions had to actually be killed, so you just kind of had them up all the time. We can create a situation already where this is true, and you can have your minions up all the time. You just recast your ult over and over again. It's a hassle. It's not a balance consideration. It's just a hassle, because we can have Trinity along, we can have energy pizzas along, we can have efficiency mods. That it does make it kind of a balanced situation, but let's fuck the efficiency mods. We're not bringing efficiency mods. We're just bringing energy proc weapons and energy pizzas, or maybe Trinity. And now we have this situation, basically by spending some in-game credits and whatnot, where the power level is this power level we wish we had, where it's actually up all the time, and it would not be unbalanced, right? That's the point. It would not be unbalanced. So we could remove this health decay per second hassle, and it would kind of make Nekros, it would make Nekros better to use, right? It would not make him stronger. It would not make him be capable of defeating more tough missions than he is now, but instead it would make him more convenient to use. We wouldn't have to deal with spending energy pizzas to use him, or needing EV Trin along to use him effectively. Right? It improves his quality of life, his playability, without actually improving his power, like the level of challenge he can accomplish or achieve or defeat, whatever. Yeah, defeat. That's the word I was looking for there. So, overall, I'm very disappointed in what they've done with his ult. They've basically just they've slaughtered Desecrate. They've nerfed it to shit. Whatever, that's fine. It's a toggle now. I can live with that, even if it is a pretty substantial nerf. They've also nerfed his ult, which did not deserve to be nerfed. It's his one really cool ability that he's like the minion guy who summons a bunch of minions, and you can kind of select what they are. I think we really need to see his ult buffed in strength to make up for the huge strength nerf that they gave it. That it was not necessary to begin with, other than for their performance issues. I kind of am skeptical of that, because seriously, you can play this game on a goddamn toaster, but since many people do play this on toasters, Xbox, and PlayStation, that's I guess reasonable. If you can't get it the performance under control, fine, reduce it to 7, but give us a strength buff to make up for it. I think I've ranted on that for way too long, but I think I did get to the gist of this rework. It's pretty simple earlier, which is that Desecrate is nerfed but much easier to use, because you just activate it and then jump around like a crazy person, which is, you know, what we really all wanted out of Nekros, to have him not rooted in place. A couple people apparently liked it, but you people are heretics and should be burned at the stake. And Shadows of the Dead just got shat on for no good reason. I think it's a little bit better than before, purely because Shield of Shadows is now better, right? That is the new point of Shadows of the Dead and the way to play Nekros, in my opinion. You're gonna mod Shield of the Shadows on, and you are going to bask in your glorious damage reduction. So this is probably long enough. I originally was going to do a section where I play Nekros a little bit. I'm just going to show you the mods I have on right here. Power Drift would be replaced for Shield of the Dead or Shield of Shadows, excuse me, once I get a hold of it. I need my friend to get online and pass me a copy, which you probably won't want to do because Syndicate weapons are coming out, but I'll have to buy one. But yeah, this is the build. Just drop Power Drift for Shield of the Dead to spoil, plus Rejuvenation is pretty effective. If you're not using Rejuvenation, hope you're going to need some way to get your health back, because you really don't want to run Power Efficiency. Fleeting Expertise is just not acceptable on Nekros now. If you want to make any use of his ult, it never was before either. Nothing's really changed there. It's just kind of rough to build him because you want power duration. You don't want negative efficiency, at least. You want power range and you want power strength. And it's actually kind of worse than before because you can't even do like a short ult now. His ult is no longer affected by power efficiency. Well, it is affected by power efficiency, but it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Well, yeah, I guess it's affected by power efficiency in the sense that it does cost less, so you could cast it more often, but it's got a really long casting animation. You don't want to cast it more often. What you really want to do is extend the duration between casts so you can run around doing stuff. So it's kind of equally affected by power efficiency and duration, but you would prefer to have more duration because more duration the duration is better than the power efficiency, essentially, with the way it works now. I'm sure you can work that out, why that is out for yourself. Just it's more convenience with the same outcome. I think that's it for my Nekros video. Yeah, these will sum up what's good about him now, which is nothing is really better about him except he's more fun to play. Like I said, I did want to do a little bit of playing with him, but it makes this video way too long. I'm probably at like 10 or 15 minutes, something really unreasonable already just from me talking. And if I talk through a mission, it's going to be like a 40-minute video, and you don't really want to see that. So yeah, run Shield of the Dead, run Desecrate all the time, jump around, get a little bit of free extra loot. He's a fun frame to play, but he's kind of weak now. But he should be a little bit. I feel like he actually could be a little bit better in survival, actually, if he actually gets you enough if he gets you enough life support anymore to fulfill his previous role. I haven't actually tried that out yet since it's just come up recently, or the update's just come out recently. But assuming that, he's going to be kind of better in survival just because he'll be less of a hassle to play. And I'm certainly going to be happy because in my friend group, every time we need to run a Nekros for something, we're not going to have to search for some random player to play Nekros because no one of us want to do it. All right, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the video.